The emergency family meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the beach house, the same sprawling oceanfront property where we'd spent every summer of our childhood. I arrived early, parking my modest Honda beside the familiar weathered cedar shingles and wraparound porch that held decades of family memories. At 27, I was the family's quiet disappointment, the daughter who'd wasted her law degree to work for some environmental nonprofit, while my sister Lisa, 29, had built an impressive career as a marketing executive for a luxury hotel chain. Today's meeting was about Lisa's upcoming wedding to Bradley Thornton, whose family owned a successful pharmaceutical company. Mom's silver Lexus pulled into the driveway precisely at 2 p.m., followed by Lisa's white BMW and a black sedan I didn't recognize. They emerged in a coordinated procession. Mom in her real estate agent blazer, Lisa in designer wedding planning attire, and an elegant woman in her 50s carrying an expensive leather portfolio. "Sarah, perfect timing," Mom called out with the forced cheerfulness she used when managing difficult family situations. "We have some exciting wedding plans to discuss." The unknown woman stepped forward with professional confidence. "You must be Sarah. I'm Victoria Sterling, Premier Wedding Coordinator. Your sister has exquisite taste. We're planning something truly spectacular." Inside the beach house, they arranged themselves around the familiar pine dining table where we'd eaten countless family meals. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the ocean view that made this property so valuable. Victoria opened her portfolio with theatrical flair. "The vision is a destination wedding at the Thornton family estate in Napa Valley. 300 guests, celebrity chef, string quartet, flowers flown in from Holland. Everything to reflect Lisa and Bradley's sophisticated lifestyle." Lisa practically glowed with excitement. "It's going to be featured in Coastal Weddings magazine. The Thorntons know people in media." "The only challenge," Victoria continued dramatically, "is the budget. For a wedding of this caliber, we need approximately $400,000. I nearly choked on my iced tea. $400,000? For one day?" Mom shot me a look that suggested my practical concerns were inappropriate. "Sarah, this isn't just any wedding. This is Lisa's future we're investing in. The beach house must go to fund the perfect wedding," Victoria declared with the authority of someone accustomed to getting her way. "Properties like this are sitting gold mines just waiting to unlock life opportunities." My stomach dropped. The beach house had been in our family for 30 years, purchased when Dad's accounting firm was thriving, before his death 5 years ago changed everything. "Fortunately," Mom said, producing a manila folder, "I've already spoken with several real estate agents. The current market estimate is $1.2 million. Victoria clapped her hands together. "Perfect. That covers the wedding plus a lovely honeymoon in Tuscany." Lisa leaned forward eagerly. "And Bradley's family will be so impressed that we could afford something this elegant. It sets the right tone for my future with the Thorntons." I stared at them in disbelief. "You want to sell Dad's beach house to pay for a wedding?" "Not just any wedding," Mom corrected. "Lisa's dream wedding. The kind of celebration that opens doors in Bradley's social circle." Victoria nodded sagely. "Investment in image is investment in future earning potential. Lisa's career will benefit enormously from the connections made at an event of this caliber." A man in his 60s entered through the back door, carrying a briefcase and wearing the slightly rumpled look of a busy real estate agent. "Sorry I'm late, Margaret. Traffic was terrible coming over the bridge." Mom stood to greet him. "Sarah, this is Roger Whitman from Coastal Properties. Roger, this is my younger daughter, the one we discussed." Roger shook my hand with practiced enthusiasm. "Pleasure to meet you, Sarah. Your mother tells me you're ready to unlock this property's value for your sister's big day. Very generous of you. Just sign here, it's for Lisa's dream wedding," Mom insisted as Roger spread listing documents across the dining table. The papers were professionally prepared, complete with property descriptions, market analysis and signature lines. I noticed the listing agreement was already dated and witnessed, as if my signature was merely a formality in a process already set in motion. "The commission structure is very favorable," Roger explained, pointing to various clauses. "Given the family connection and quick sale timeline, we've structured everything to maximize your proceeds." Victoria examined the documents with approval. "Excellent. With a property this desirable, we should have offers within days. Lisa's wedding timeline will proceed perfectly. My phone buzzed with an incoming call from a familiar number. Perfect timing, just as I'd arranged. "Excuse me," I said, standing up from the table. "I need to take this call." "This is Sarah Morrison," I answered, watching my family's expectant faces as they waited for me to return and sign away what they assumed was family property. "Ms. Morrison, this is David Chin from Chin and Associates Property Law," the voice said clearly, loud enough for others to hear in the quiet beach house. "I'm calling regarding the unauthorized listing attempt on your property at 1847 Ocean Drive." The room fell silent. Mom's confident smile faltered slightly. "Unauthorized listing?" I repeated, making sure everyone could hear. "Yes. Our monitoring service flagged an attempted MLS entry for your property without proper owner authorization. Given the property's legal status, I wanted to confirm this wasn't a clerical error." Roger looked confused, glancing at Mom with concern. "Is there some problem with the title?" I held up a finger, continuing my call. "Mr. Chin, could you clarify the ownership status for everyone present?" "Certainly. Property records show 1847 Ocean Drive has been owned by Morrison Environmental Holdings since December 2019. You're listed as the sole proprietor and decision-making authority." Victoria's perfectly composed expression cracked slightly. "I'm sorry, what does that mean exactly?" I ended the call and turned to face the group. "It means I own this beach house. I've owned it for 6 years." The silence stretched painfully. Lisa's mouth fell open. Roger began frantically shuffling through his paperwork. "That's impossible," Mom said weakly. "The house has been in the family for decades." "It was," I agreed calmly, "until Dad's estate went into probate and the family faced foreclosure on the property taxes and maintenance costs." Roger's face had gone pale. "Mrs. Morrison, you told me your daughter was ready to sell family property. If there's an ownership dispute—" "There's no dispute," I interrupted. "When Dad died, this property had accumulated $60,000 in back taxes and needed extensive structural repairs. The family couldn't afford either." Mom gripped the table edge. "But we all contributed to keeping it." "You contributed $200 once," I said matter-of-factly. "I purchased the property through my company to prevent foreclosure, paid all back taxes, and invested $180,000 in structural improvements and environmental compliance." Victoria looked between me and Mom with growing alarm. "Your company?" "Morrison Environmental Holdings. I'm an environmental policy attorney specializing in coastal protection law. The beach house is both my primary residence and my firm's headquarters." Lisa found her voice, though it came out as a whisper. "But you said you worked for a nonprofit." "I do. I founded Morrison Environmental Foundation, which provides legal services to communities fighting coastal development and pollution. The foundation operates out of my property here." Roger began packing his papers with obvious panic. "Mrs. Morrison, if you represented yourself as having authority to sell property you don't own." "I'm a licensed real estate agent," Mom protested. "I understand property law." "Then you understand," I said calmly, "that attempting to list someone else's property without their consent is fraud." My phone rang again. I glanced at the caller ID and smiled. "Excuse me, this is important." "Ms. Morrison," the voice said professionally, "this is Linda Kaufman from the State Real Estate Board. We've received a complaint regarding unauthorized property listing by license holder Margaret Morrison. We need to discuss this matter immediately." I put the phone on speaker. "Ms. Kaufman, the property owner is present, along with the agent in question and her associates." "Excellent. Ms. Morrison, are you the sole owner of 1847 Ocean Drive?" "I am." "And did you authorize Margaret Morrison to list this property for sale?" "I did not." Victoria gathered her materials with increasing urgency. "Perhaps we should reschedule this meeting." "Actually," Linda Kaufman's voice continued through the speaker, "we'll need to speak with Margaret Morrison immediately. Attempting to list property without owner consent is grounds for license suspension." Mom's face had gone completely white. "There's been a misunderstanding. This is my family. Family relationships don't exempt agents from following proper procedures," Linda Kaufman replied crisply. "Margaret Morrison, You're required to report to our office within 24 hours for an emergency hearing. Roger was already heading for the door. Margaret, I can't be involved in this. My agency has strict policies about fraudulent listings. Wait, Lisa called desperately. What about my wedding? We need the money from the house sale. I looked at my sister with genuine sympathy. Lisa, you can have a beautiful wedding within your actual budget. You don't need to sell my house to impress people. But Bradley's family expects. Bradley's family will judge you based on who you are, not how much you spend on one party, I interrupted. If they won't accept that, they're not the family you want to marry into. Victoria Sterling's composure finally cracked completely as she realized her elaborate wedding plans were collapsing. This is absolutely unprecedented. I've never had a family meeting derailed by property ownership disputes. It's not a dispute, I clarified. It's fraud prevention. Linda Kaufman's voice continued through the speakerphone. Margaret Morrison, I'm reviewing your file now. This isn't your first complaint regarding misrepresentation of property authority. Mom sank into her chair as if her legs had given out. I don't understand how this happened. I thought the house was still family property. Because you never asked, I said simply. When Dad died, you assumed someone else would handle the financial problems. When those problems disappeared, you assumed it was magic. I walked to the filing cabinet in the corner and pulled out a thick folder. Here's the purchase documentation, tax payment records, and renovation receipts. 6 years of maintaining this property while you've visited maybe 12 times. Victoria examined the documents with growing horror. So the entire wedding budget strategy was based on selling property that my sister doesn't own and never has owned, I finished. Yes. Lisa looked devastated. Sarah, please. Can't you help with the wedding costs? We're family. I can help you plan a wedding within your means, I offered. But I'm not selling my home and business headquarters to fund a $400,000 party. Roger reappeared in the doorway looking nervous. Margaret, I need to officially withdraw from any listing arrangements. My legal department insists. Already done, Linda Kaufman's voice interrupted. As of this moment, Margaret Morrison's real estate license is suspended pending investigation. Any listing agreements she's initiated are void. Mom looked physically ill. Suspended? But my career. Should have considered that before trying to sell someone else's property, Linda Kaufman replied matter-of-factly. Ms. Morrison, will you be pressing criminal charges? I looked at Mom, whose 20-year real estate career was crumbling in real time. That depends on whether this behavior stops immediately. Victoria gathered her expensive portfolio materials with obvious frustration. Lisa, I'm afraid we'll need to completely reconceptualize your wedding plans. Perhaps something more modest. How modest? Lisa whispered. Well, without the house sale proceeds. Perhaps a local venue, simplified catering, fewer guests. Lisa began crying softly. Not from sadness about the wedding scale, but from the realization that her entire plan had been built on selling property that was never hers to sell. I walked over and put a hand on her shoulder. Lisa, let me help you plan something beautiful that you can actually afford. A wedding should be about marriage, not impressing people. But what will Bradley's family think? If they're worth impressing, they'll think you're practical and authentic, I said. If they're not worth impressing, then this is valuable information about your future. After Victoria Sterling left with her deflated wedding plans and Roger Whitman escaped with his professional reputation barely intact, I sat with Mom and Lisa on the beach house deck overlooking the ocean. I don't understand how we got this so wrong, Mom said quietly, her real estate license suspension notice still crumpled in her hand. You got it wrong because you never asked, I replied. For 6 years, you've seen this house maintained, taxes paid, improvements made, and you assumed it was happening magically. Lisa wiped her eyes with a tissue. I just wanted everything to be perfect for Bradley. Perfect for whom? I asked gently. For Bradley, or for people whose approval you're trying to buy? She considered this for a moment. I guess. I wanted his family to think I was worthy of him. Lisa, if you need to spend $400,000 to prove you're worthy of someone, maybe you should question whether they're worthy of you. Mom looked out at the ocean waves. Sarah, I owe you an apology. I had no idea you'd built such a successful practice here. Morrison Environmental Foundation has saved 14 coastal properties from destructive development in the past 3 years, I said. We've also provided free legal services to 26 communities fighting pollution cases. The work pays well because it matters. Why didn't you tell us? Lisa asked. I tried. Every time I mentioned environmental law, you assumed I was working for free. Every time I talked about coastal protection, you thought I was playing activist. You decided I was unsuccessful because my work doesn't fit your definition of impressive achievement. 6 weeks later, Lisa had a beautiful wedding at a local botanical garden. 200 guests, elegant but affordable catering, flowers from local growers. The total cost was $35,000, which she and Bradley paid for themselves. Bradley's family attended and were charmed by the authentic, personal celebration. His mother later told Lisa it was refreshing to see young people who understood the value of money and the importance of genuine connection over flashy displays. Mom's real estate license was reinstated after 3 months, with mandatory ethics training. She learned to verify property ownership before making any listing arrangements. The beach house at 1847 Ocean Drive remained exactly as it was. My home, my office, and the headquarters for environmental protection work that actually changed the world. No family wedding budget would ever threaten its mission again.